This video is going to cover Tommy John surgery exercises specifically for the earlier stages of recovery. And we're going to go through some different things to do and not to do if you've had Tommy John surgery and you're at weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that. MaxWardell, This video I wanted to just go through a few exercises that you can do in the earlier stages of recovery. Not talking about very early recovery. You know, I'm thinking of more weeks 5 through 10, something like that. Some things that you can begin to initiate. Start to re-strengthen your rotator cuff. Start to really retrain your forearm musculature, but we're not getting into any really in-depth strength and conditioning stuff, anything that's really heavy load. And what we really want to avoid is placing any tension on the medial part, the inside portion of the elbow. And something that I see done quite a bit is an exercise where, and I'll just hook this up here around treadmill, but we'll see band exercises where people have a band hooked around something and they're doing this. You have to be careful because that's the same type of load that's placed on the elbow here. The only difference is we're pulling it that way here. So we're still gapping this inside part of the elbow, and we're pulling on the repair site. We're pulling on that tendon graft that's put into our elbow and, you know, the place where the ulnar collateral ligament is. So we got to avoid that sort of thing post-surgery and anything that can place that sort of load. I've seen a lot of people doing stretching where they're actually pushing themselves back this way. You really got to be careful with that sort of thing. It's not really indicated for throwers. When you actually start throwing in your return to throw progression, you'll get enough stretching back this way. We don't need to continue to do that. And that's something we've talked about in a couple videos. And I recently did one on the worst stretches for throwing athletes. And I talked about the implications for the shoulder when doing a stretch like that. And I touched a little bit on the elbow, but that's the same type of load. It's called a valgus load that you place on your elbow and throwing. We don't need to do that with our training exercises, especially when the tissues are trying to heal. So those are what we need to avoid. What we like to do at this point is we like to, let me just clear off my workspace here. We like to start to get some rotator cuff strengthening going on, and you can really start with some basic exercises. I just did a video on this side lying external rotation exercise. I'm supporting my head with my arm here. I can put something here if I'm a bit thicker of a guy. I don't necessarily need to, and I'm just initiating, pushing my elbow down towards my pocket, bringing my arm slightly forward, and I'm starting to do shoulder external rotation exercises, week 5, 6, 7, something like that. And I'm trying to train the rotator cuff because you've been sitting in a sling and your rotator cuff and your shoulder's gotten weak. So we'll start with something like that, 1 2-pounder, and just starting to retrain those rotator cuff muscles. Similarly, I'm going to train a different part of the rotator cuff, more on the top of the shoulder, and I can do it through a full can exercise here, just out in front, full cans at a 45-degree angle out to the side. And then I can do an empty can exercise, which is going to be more specific to throwing. All these exercises that I've shown you, these last 3, are very safe. So I'm keeping my shoulder down. If I get a pinching, I go just shy of that. I don't go into a pinching sensation in the shoulder. And I'm reaching out and under. And that's important because during the throw, I get into that position. I have to be able to control it. So I'm just initiating the beginning of strengthening the rotator cuff. Now from there, I can take a band here. And this is fairly heavy. You might want to go a bit lighter. And what I'll do is I'll just stand on one part of it. Why? So I'm training the muscles that control not only the shoulder, but the shoulder blade. So the scapula, this is going to train mid-low trap. And when I'm doing the exercise, I'll show you here, I'm keeping my shoulders or I'm pulling them down and back. I'm setting my scapula as I come up in this way. And I don't even necessarily need a load. So that's one way to do it. A really light band. I would probably go lighter than that. And if that's too difficult, I set my butt right on the edge of a table, PT table, chair, whatever. back flat, hinge forward, good cervical posture. And I'm going to do a Y, and I can do a static hold here. We've talked about static postural corrections in previous videos. So if you're new, you're going to want to go back and check those out and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future content. But I'm just going to do, I can do 8-second holds, 15-second, or even up to 30-second holds. If I'm a little bit scared of movement, I'm gonna sit in a static hold and try to train the muscles in the right way. If I'm feeling the one where I got the band and I'm doing this, and I'm feeling it up here in the top and the upper trap muscles, I'm gonna wanna opt for a static exercise where I can really focus on my posture, pulling my shoulders down and back, elbows extended, not out here, not in here, perfect 45, pulling my shoulders down like I'm tucking my scapula in my back pockets. And when I do the static isometric, a lot of times it's even better for training the periscapular muscles like that lower trapezius. So you want to feel that more in this area as opposed to this area. So a lot of times isometric is the best bet. So at this point, I've started to train my supraspinatus of the rotator cuff, started to train the infraspinatus and teres minor, and I can do some stuff where I'll hook it in the same way that I did before, but instead of letting it pull my arm out this way, I'll turn and I'll do the exercise the other way. And this is a bit strong, but I want to go more endurance to start. So I might do my rep ranges from 10 to 18 repetitions to try to train a little bit more endurance to start, and then I'll progress into more strength once I've accomplished some endurance. So to recap, avoid the ones that pull you out. I would start by training the rotator cuff with side lying this way, full can, which is thumb up, pour the can out, thumb down, empty can, and then doing some stuff for the periscapular muscles. And lastly, on the edge of the table here, you've seen scapula push-ups before where you push your chest away. I want you to push your chest away, get your feet shoulder width apart, and then do alternating shoulder taps. So you're starting to train the serratus muscle, which comes around the rib cage. Needs to contract really hard and throwing to stabilize the shoulder. And a lot of times these are muscles that were weak before surgery. And when we actually evaluate injured throwers, elbow injuries as well, it's very, very rare. Almost every single one of them has had some sort of weakness in the rotator cuff and muscles that stabilize the shoulder, even though they had an elbow injury, because it's all connected. So if this stuff is new for you, you're going to want to subscribe to our channel, stay watching, and then check out our website, overheadathletics.com. We actually have a free rotator cuff program on there. A lot of that stuff's going to be great for you guys moving forward. But weeks 5 to 10, these are things that you can start doing. Staying in pain-free ranges, no pain on the inside of the elbow. We don't want to provoke it. So once again, these exercises good. Try to work more endurance. 2, 3, 4 sets of 12, 10, up to maybe 15, 18 repetitions, something like that. And let me know how it goes. Comment in the comment section below and give this video a like if this was helpful to you. We'll see you in the next video.